Hey, thanks for joining me for a short period of time in a story today. This story comes after 20 years between a previous story where God appeared to Jacob in a dream. I did this story a long time ago, and made a promise to him that he'd bring him back to the place where he is right there in the dream in Bethel, and that he'll be with him wherever he goes. And then Jacob has been on this journey where he's actually married 4 wives. He has 12 sons, and I think 12 at this point in time, maybe 11 at this point in time. And he's back in a place called Shechem. Right before this story took place, 2 of his sons have killed all the males in Shechem, and they have taken captive all the women and children and all of the livestock. And that's where our story begins. God says to Jacob, "Go up to Bethel and build an altar there to God, who appeared to you when you were fleeing from your brother Esau." So Jacob said to the people who are with them, "Put away the foreign gods that are among you, and purify yourselves, and change your garments. And let us arise and go to Bethel, for I'll make an altar to God there, who answered me in the day of my distress, and has been with me, not promised, but has been with me wherever I have gone." And so the people bring to Jacob all the gods that are in their hands and take the earrings from their ears, and they bring them to Jacob, and he takes those things and he hides them under a terebinth tree near Shechem. And then Israel went up to Bethel, and the terror of God fell on all the cities around there, and no one pursued the sons of Jacob. So that's the end of the story right there. So it comes, God speaks to Jacob, and he says to him to go to Bethel and make an altar to God who appeared to you when you were fleeing from your brother Esau. That's all God says. But when Jacob turns around and says to the people, "Do this thing, and let us arise and go to Bethel, and I will make an altar to God there, who answered me in my distress, and has been with me wherever I have gone." I wonder what we learn about what happened inside of Jacob when God said, "Arise and go to Bethel, and make an altar to the God who appeared to you when you fled from the face of your brother Esau." What happened in him? What might have occurred to him when God had laid that out for him? Could Jacob have had something pop up in his memory that he had lost track of? Could he have perhaps reconnected with the fact of what God had said to him and then come back to it? Because then when he says the people is what God had said to him. He doesn't say what God had most recently said. He could have said to the people, "I'm going to go to Bethel and make an altar to God who appeared to me when I was fleeing from my brother." No, he doesn't say that. He said, "Make an altar to God who answered me in my distress and has been with me wherever I have gone." Might we learn about Jacob? What might we learn about his discovery about God? How might that have connected into something in his own heart in a new way for him? And Jacob says to the people, he gives them assignment, right? We might imagine that maybe they were mourning the losses of all, which makes sense, right? And of all their kindred. But he makes an assignment. He says to them, "Put away the foreign gods that are among you, and purify yourselves, and change your clothes, and let us arise and go to Bethel and make this altar." When we learn about the people, that they did what Jacob told them to do, that they did change their clothes, that they did put away the foreign gods that are among them, by the gods that are in their hands, they brought them to Jacob. And the language here says, and Jacob hid those things beneath the terebinth tree. Why do we hide things? What might be a reason for us to hide things? Right, to keep others from finding them, right? So who was Jacob wanting to keep from finding those things? Isn't it interesting that he hid them? I mean, it could have used all kinds of language, and I'm latching onto this word, but wow, he hid them, not from himself and not for himself, but from others. As a result of what he did, though, look what happened. The terror of God fell on the cities around them, so no one pursued them. God was established as God for Jacob and the people following him. as they went to Bethel, which is a word that means the house of God. And I wonder if there's anything in this story that might relate to us today. Like, are there any other gods that get in our hands today? Do we bow down to something today that we shouldn't bow down to? It makes me wonder. I was talking to this kid and asking him that question. He said, well, we don't have any other gods today. And then he began to look at stuff. He said, well, I guess money could be a god. Huh. I guess clothing, I guess food. And he started naming all these possibilities. There are all kinds of things that we get passionate about, and we're more passionate about them than we can be passionate about God. Huh. Wow. It makes me wonder if there's anything that God would say to you or to me to put away from yourself, to be done with that thing. What might that be for you in order to be made ready to enter the house of God, or to draw near to God, or to experience the living God? And I wonder if there's anything that God may be wanting to say to you to remind you of what he'd already said. Just today I got a text from a friend of mine, and he reminded me of something God had said to me 6 months ago. He'd saved it in a note and reminded me of it. It was so encouraging. Do you need to remember what God has said to you? Go back and look. Hey, bless you. Have a great day.